Hi Gemini, welcome to your November 2020 General Tarot reading. It's Rena here. So I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, which is a deck that I use periodically, and I had wanted to use it more during the Scorpio season as I'm recording this at the end of October for the month of November, because it has kind of like that theme to me, scorpionic theme, in some of the cards. Some of the cards are very colorful, like the one I just got, Mother of Wands. And they use, another thing I should mention too, is that the images are not going to be like very aligned with the Rider-Waite deck. The artist has their own interpretations of the cards. Some of them I have no idea, why they chose certain imagery. And some I find very ingenious, like the Six of Cups that I have in the top left. And of course I will be elaborating on that. But look at that, the Empress. I mean, it's so beautiful. And one of the things that I have noticed as somebody who has owned multiple tarot decks is that when you have tarot decks that have similar backgrounds where the colors are uniform, it actually is much less effective, I think, overall, because the cards pretty much look the same, so nothing stands out. And in these cards and in my Morgan Greer deck, which is the one I typically use, there are all kinds of different colors, and so you can distinguish one card from the other. And trying to get all the cards in the frame, but we'll just do what we can with what we have. Oh my goodness, they're just hard to pick up because I want to pick up this top card. Okay. It's funny because this particular card, the outcome card, I have it colored. See, this is the background, and I've colored it in a little bit because it was peeling so that it would kind of blend in and I wouldn't know what card it was. And when I was picking it, I had already touched it and I knew I was going to pick it, but I saw that it had that color and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I knew it was a 10 of something, but I did not know it before I picked it. So I just want you to know that. So the heart of the matter is the Mother of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands, and that's because queens can be mothers, can be literal mothers or mother-in-laws, or you're a mother. And the Queen of Wands is a card that has to do with, if you break it down, ambition, nurturing ambition. And because the Queen is a leader, this could be nurturing ambition in another person, in other people. So if you have had a career promotion, then this may be exactly what you're doing, Gemini, and you're doing it with a lot of positivity. So in other words, instead of being somebody who's lording it over someone or some people, you're actually being that kind of a real leader, and you are encouraging the people that are under you to do their best, and that's just showing that kind of positivity. But the Queen of Wands can be other things. I mean, there may be some of you who are in a position where you're dealing with a woman who is rather forceful. And I have to kind of dance around this. I joke around about this because I had someone get very offended at my mentioning the Queen of Wands being a drama queen in a prior video. And it wasn't, when I was saying that, and I remember getting that card in the upright position, which typically would not mean that that this woman, if it's specifically a woman, is like that, like a negative quality. But even for people who are fire signs, I'm a Sagittarius, and actually the Queen of Wands connects with Sagittarius. We can overly dramatize life. All fire signs can try to exaggerate things because we're expansive. So when I say drama queen, I didn't mean, creating a fake crisis all the time. I meant being very, exaggerated in one's response to life, maybe drawing attention to oneself regularly. And even if the person is not like malicious, still having that rather domineering quality about themselves. You could call it being pushy, but or aggressive, but it's not because the person is trying to control in a negative way. It's just that that's just how they express themselves. And we know people like that. We know people who are pushy, aggressive, but it's just that they are a natural leader, and so they just express themselves in such a way. And so it's hard to sometimes articulate things fully. We try to boil them down. So if this person is in your life, this could just be a Sagittarius person, and definitely for Gemini, since you're the opposite sign, that could be really good. Another thing that you have to remember is that you're going to have a lunar eclipse in the month of November, on the last day of November. And a lunar eclipse is a full moon in Gemini, is a powerful full moon in Gemini. So that means that the sun is in the opposing sign, which is Sagittarius. So as a timing card, maybe this is that individual that you're involved with, not saying that it's going to be a Sagittarius, but a committed relationship, 7th house. And that type of situation, you may see that either you need to stop doing something in your, you need to drop something within yourself, because the full moon in your sign can be letting go of something that is not serving you, that you're doing in order to preserve the relationship, or that you will see your own needs illuminated at this time. And perhaps this person kind of has been dominating the relationship, and you have allowed it because they're, like I said, the person may not be a bad person, but you realize that your needs have gone unmet, and you have to kind of balance the scales a little bit. In the past position, we have the 6 of Cups, which is a card of childhood. And this was an example of what I was saying, I think, is an ingenious depiction of what this card represents, because this card can represent your roots. That stuff that just fell were ashes from my incense that you can't see in the frame. So if you just saw a bunch of stuff fall down, that was it. So I guess I'm going to have to wait to clear it off. So I think this is, clever, and it's beautiful the way they have these different colors and everything like that. So this can be about the past. And yeah, definitely this can come up at the time of that full moon, where you're kind of taking stock in your life of, like, what do I want to change? And you might go very far back, and maybe the Queen of Wands is your mother. And if you are married, this could be your mother-in-law, and it's reminding you of your own childhood and some of the patterns that developed then. And so however that plays out, I'm not saying that it's going to be something negative at all. As a matter of fact, this could even have something to do, I think, with a pregnancy. That you are going to become a mother, or if you are a male, you're going to be nurturing a child at some point. Because even if we say that the queen or mother represents the feminine quality, we could say the feminine quality can be present in a man who is nurturing a child just as well as a woman. So it doesn't have to be giving birth. It could be just anybody who is nurturing a child. And then it kind of reminds you of your own childhood. Like, am I going to raise my child the way that I was raised? Or am I going to do something completely different? Do I not want to do it? Even if I don't feel that I had an unhappy childhood, I still may feel like there are things that I would have changed. So kind of looking at the past and how it relates to what's happening right now for some reason. The higher message, I don't like to leave that. The higher message is the Empress, which is a major arcana card that is connected to Venus and the two signs that are ruled by Venus, which are Taurus and Libra. And it's a card of love, motherhood, so it kind of emphasizes that, creativity, and abundance. And so in this context, if this is a career matter, you may feel like there might be some kind of situation where you have gotten a promotion, you're in a position of authority, but what you really have wanted to do is not being fulfilled. And so, especially if it has some kind of an artistic nature, the Empress is the number 3, and that is associated with creativity and just joy, fun, communication. Now, and abundance too. Now, the thing about the Six of Cups is it can relate to the past. So this may be something that you've always wanted to do, and perhaps you just got lost somewhere along the way. It didn't go the way that you had hoped. So it's, coming back to that. And even if you are expecting a child, getting more into the creative side of life, or, this is about motherhood. So that is a form of creation as well, creativity. And getting into that feminine principle that Gemini is a masculine sign. So it's something that might be an adjustment. For some of you, it won't be an adjustment because you have inner planets in either Taurus or Cancer or both. And these are both feminine signs, earth and water. And your moon sign can be anything, as your rising sign can be. So these elements that are part of the personal makeup of a particular Gemini, they may have a stronger influence than you realize at the end of the day. And that can indicate that you are, looking at the domestic side of life and the nurturing side, nurturing somebody else, or nurturing your own creative talents too. That can certainly come up, And what crosses you is the Ace of Swords. This is a card of mental clarity, and you are swords. So some kind of maybe a new beginning that is coming from thinking about something in a different way, even if it's the same topic, but you're looking at it in a different way, and yet you still haven't gotten there yet. And that's okay. It's interesting that they have lightning. I think they have that on all of the aces. I'm not quite sure, but I think so. And I think it's because the catalyst, kind of that energy that, creates the new cycle. But what I would say about that is that it could have something to do with, having to really get clear on something that you may have preconceived notions over. So if we go talk about having a child, that might mean to you losing your freedom, or it might feel like if you do that, you can never have a career again. You're going to have to be stuck at home, you know, and I'm putting that in air quotes, but it might feel that way to you. It might not feel very like an attractive choice. And so you might have to wrap your brain around that in order to proceed, in order to really feel clear about it. I had this experience myself. I'm not, you know, not being a Gemini, but just in general, because when I see this card in the challenge position, sometimes I think of somebody who is, they think they want something, but they're not sure because they might have conflicting emotions or opinions. And I had this experience in my own life, and then I realized that I was very strongly drawn to a certain thing, and it really felt, I was just, you know, thinking to myself, wow, that feels really good, because I don't often have that feeling. I usually am thinking about all the what ifs and having such a you know, conflicting ideas. And I know that Gemini is one of those signs that tends to be indecisive. And so part of this is because you're a mutable sign like Sagittarius. You can see things from different perspectives, and that's not bad. I mean, that can be very good. But the thing is that I think there is still in the reptilian consciousness that we all have this part of this, you know, and I'm not talking about the Anunnaki or something like that. I'm talking about just that that kind of part of our brains that is very instinctive, or is instinctive, that just kind of runs its own tapes, its own scripts, the reactive mind that automatically says what if, and doesn't have that sense that there are multiple possibilities. So that might be what's going on with you, and especially if you're thinking about changing career paths or simply being unhappy with what you're doing right now. You may feel like, you know, I don't really want to be a supervisor. Maybe you thought that that was something that you wanted, but you discover that it has a lot of headaches. It's maybe you're working longer hours for the glory of saying that you're working for, you know, that you have authority over other people. That might impress other people, but for you, it's not really what you want. It creates a lot of its own challenges. So I get these cards a lot where it's either the money is a temptation, or the status versus doing something that you love, or doing something that puts you more on the spiritual path than on the path of enhancing the ego. And it seems like that's a theme. And I'm always saying to myself, am I just kind of putting my own thing, you know, kind of like projecting onto whatever the reading is? And I try to say, well, I try not to do that. So, but it's kind of funny that it works out this way. So what's coming in is the the Four of Cups, and this is one of those macabre cards that I'm talking about. And the Four of Cups is a card of malaise, emotional malaise. It can be a feeling of dissatisfaction with one's life. I think of this more as an advice card of like kind of a, what do they call that? Cautionary tale type of thing, that if you're not aligned with your purpose, then you will likely have a lack of enthusiasm. It's very hard to feel enthused about something that you're not emotionally invested in. The Four of Cups can be mailing it in, being kind of like disinterested in whatever it is. So you're emotionally not connected to it. And that certainly can be a distressing thing for anybody, but especially for a sign, I think, like Gemini, because you're very curious, you're very social, and you're not like interested in heavy emotional scenes. So when you feel that sense of emotional heaviness, that might really be something that another sign, like your adjacent sign Cancer, they may just be like, that's par for the course, because they tend to have a strong connection to their moods, being a water sign, and they kind of cycle in and out of different moods. But for a sign like Gemini, that is kind of like when I do thumbnails, I tend to put fairies, because I think of Gemini as this light creature, air sign, flying in the air, and kind of like above it all. And this is kind of like, this feels really heavy. Actually, number 4 is a number connected to Saturn. So that Saturnian emotional kind of bummer, feeling. Why is that? Because the person is maybe running these old scripts of like, what does it mean to be successful in life? And who told me this? Who told me that, this is what success means, or, even brought up the subject of success? Why is it important to that person, and why should it be important to me? And when you start to do self-inquiry, you start to realize how much of these messages belong to somebody else and are not really organic to you. And I really believe that the more that we kind of delve into what makes us think certain things, we will discover, and we trace it back, that a lot of these things are not coming from within our higher self, or the part of us that is guiding us, but is really coming from the outside world. So I do recommend, if you are feeling in your life, in any area of life, maybe I'm not even covering the area, but if you're feeling this sense of dissatisfaction, and with the Ace of Swords, you're feeling a bit kind of confused about the next thing that you want to initiate in your life, and you're kind of maybe spinning your wheels. First of all, wait until after your eclipse happens at the end of the month. Look at what happens at the end of this year in December, going into the new year, and you might start to get more information come in, because you are, you have the North Node in your sign. So in a lot of ways, the focus is on you and your path. Whether this is your sun sign or your rising sign. I'm assuming most people are watching this for their sun in Gemini. When people ask me, I'm the rising sign, should I watch this? Well, I don't know. If you resonate with other readers who are doing tarot readings, but remember, it's different than astrology, and I'm mixing in these two elements into these readings. When I'm talking about the astrological transits, it's for both the sun and rising. And even though those things I mention are general, that they might not be exactly what is happening for you now, the only way you can really know is through your personal natal chart. Everything else is going to be a generalized version of that. And the outcome is the Ten of Wands, which is a card of, it's funny, in this deck, it almost doesn't look like kind of a scary dark forest. I'm just making sure these are branches and not swords. I know it probably totally looks like branches, but sometimes I've gotten confused with some of these cards because they're so different than the Rider-Waite deck. So the Ten of Wands can be somebody who is working very hard on their career, but they're risking burnout. And the number 10 is the end of a cycle. So it could be that you're going as far as you can go. I'm just cutting the cards in half. I'm going to just pick this card right here to get a feel for what this could mean as a clarification. So we have the Seven of Wands. So we have this fire energy. And I always think of this, see, this was the deck that has a totally different, if some of you know, the Rider-Waite and my Morgan Greer deck have somebody who is like fending off an attack, and they're holding the wand in a defensive posture. That's the Seven of Wands, because it's supposed to be in the defensive mode. This particular Seven of Wands to me looks like the eternal flame. And very interestingly, I do associate it with, your burning desire. And maybe this is a desire that you've had your whole life. And that's why I go back to the beginning, because, wands are creativity, are forms of creativity. And here we have the Mother of Wands in the center of it. And the mother is the birther of things, is the creator. I mean, obviously to have a child, you need a father too. But I'm saying is the mother has the womb. So the mother births the child, and if this is some project, you're birthing this project. But the thing is that the number 7 is kind of a solitary number. And so perhaps you feel like you're kind of all alone in a way, where you are trying to step out and do something that is different from other people around you. And I always say that the creative process and the creative life of the artist and the mystic is one and the same, because they're seeking inspiration from a higher source. Like even artists will tell you that, when they're inspired, like the late Wayne Dyer would say, in spirit, that's what inspired means, is that they're in that zone. And this may be something that you have to be bold, and you have to kind of believe in yourself, even when other people are not on board. And I think one of the best things you can do a lot of times is not to tell people what your plans are, because there are a lot of naysayers in this world. And one of the reasons that they're like that is because when you're telling your dreams, it reminds them of the dreams that they haven't accomplished. So maybe you have to stoke that flame for a little while longer until you can really figure out exactly how you want to proceed. If this is something to do with work, you're going to have to, defend yourself. In other words, maybe they're trying to take advantage of you with the Ten of Wands and saddle you with, twice the workload by saying, oh, you're you have this supervisory position, and kind of butter you up, but really you're not getting paid much more, and you're doing twice as much work, and you're working on salary, and that means that you can work overtime and you don't get overtime, those kinds of little tricks that are played. So whatever this means with the Seven of Wands, to me it's ultimately about believing in yourself. Wands are connected to autonomy and self-awareness and self-expression. And so it's about, standing your ground, the Seven of Wands, and about, teaching people how to treat you by what you're willing to tolerate. I think that's another thing. Okay, that's what I have for you, Gemini. I didn't expect to go on for 30 minutes, that's for sure. But in any case, if you're still around after all this time, I thank you for watching. And if you would like a private reading, I'm primarily an astrologer. You can check out my offerings in the link below. I'm at rainermoonastrology.com. Take care. Bye.